This is just a quick video on how I realign quilts. So I finished sewing my pass and I'm ready to realign for the next one. It knows I've finished, so it tells me to cut threads and press start. But instead I'm going to press the realign button and it zooms out, and I want to realign somewhere close to the center of the quilt. So I'm going to go zoom in. And when I'm realigning a pattern that interlocks, I like to find one of the higher points along the bottom of the row that I've just quilted. So I'm going to turn the zoom off. I need to put my dot right where I want to realign to. And I move my machine to that point that I want to realign so that I know that I'm in the right spot. And then I like to take a pin and put it in the quilt to just mark that spot. And once I have selected manual mode, then I push my machine back to where I can sew my next pass. So if I have one that's only a partial up here at the top, but if I was only going back one, then I would go back to the same point here. But in this case, I'm doing 2 passes at a time, so I'm going to roll it back as far as I know that it can sew, and then I'm going to advance my quilt. I've advanced the quilt and I did base down my edges off camera. As you can see, my quilt is advanced so that my pin is now here under my foot where I had pushed it back to where I knew I could sew. On my IQ, you can see I'm still in manual mode. Since I have finished basting, I'm going to touch finished. So I like to be able to see the point that I'm aligning to so that I make sure I'm really aligning to what I think I am in case I forgot to mark that point or something. So I'm going to zoom and I'm going to pan down so that I can see the point. And then with my machine, I'm going to line that needle up exactly with the point that I had. On my Gamel, if I try to sink my needle into that spot with it on, it'll take a stitch. On my A1, it doesn't do that. So it's going to just depend on your machine. So I'm going to turn it off. And I'm going to run the needle down until I'm right on that point, which you're not going to be able to see on camera, but you'll just have to believe me. I don't want my needle to actually be in the fabric. I just want it low enough that I can see, and if you happen to have a laser light that goes in there, then that would work too. I'm going to pull my pin out, and now I can touch continue. And my needle, I already did it. I'm going to say okay, and the machine's ready to go. So any clipping you want to do on the edges, I usually pause to do that to just check my edges. But that's how you advance your quilt. You need to make sure that you press continue. You need to make sure that you have the crosshairs marked. I also wanted to mention, I don't typically use Quilt Advance Assist unless it's a pattern that doesn't have a point that I can line up with easily, because I find that my quilts move as I'm quilting, so the IQ is actually lining up with where it thinks the point should be rather than where it actually is. That's just my preference, and there's probably several different ways to do this, but this is the way I do it.